Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experiences, my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can just take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honest cap of the day.
Thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes, it's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What up, everybody? Welcome to episode 114 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guests today are Mike and Marcus, and today I'm joined by Nick, Cliff, and Buddy. How's everybody doing today? What's up?
It's awesome.
Good.
It's going.
Doing good.
It's going.
Everything is going really well.
I know there's a few people watching
Okay.
because I got the cops called on me at the VA, and we're going to talk about that.
We're going to get into that.
So yeah,
That's how we're going to kickstart this dumpster fire.
right. It's a good one. No, we actually got a turn. We got Cliff on the show as well, the mental health warrior. A couple of big announcements for Cliff. We were able to get him syndicated on a radio show.
Yep.
So his mental health warrior will be on Reese Across America's radio show starting what, next Friday?
Next Friday, yep, first episode.
That's
We're
what's
gonna
up,
roll
man.
with my very first podcast, the one that I talk about how I became the mental health warrior. So I'm super excited about that. They're gonna air it on Friday at 8 p.m. and then also on Sundays. So the official announcement, official will come out next week about it. But I'm super excited about that. It's a great opportunity not only for Veterans Trash Talk, but also for the mental health warrior. And hopefully we can get out there and reach more veterans. We were talking earlier before we went live. Had a good friend of mine call me, and I told him about Veterans Trash Talk, and I said, "Hey, listen to the show today." So if you're that person and you're listening, I just want to know there is a community out there. This is us. Look at us up on all of our social media. This is why we do what we do, and you're not alone. I know that you're suffering. I know that your friend Danny will move the world for you. But please give him the opportunity to help you, and we all care for you, and we understand what you're going through. So just take care of yourself and get yourself straight. We're rooting for you. Thanks.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Congrats on that, Cliff. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it was funny. Reads Across America. Pretty much everybody watching probably knows who they are. It's a tremendous organization, and I ran across them, and it's kind of like the VFW, buddy. When I said we try to help you, and they thought that they were going to help us. It's like no. We're going to help you. Like we have a lot more listeners and followers.
Yeah.
And he's like, He's like, well, your content on the Trash Talk Hour isn't really what we have on the radio. I'm like, oh, don't worry, it's not my show I want on there.
It'd be like this. Beep, 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 beep. You're like R2D2.
We don't have a voice for radio. What are you talking about?
We have voice for radio. We don't have the language for radio. But,
fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I get to start off the conspiracy, and it's a pretty simple one, all right, to get your guys' opinions on it. So Mike and Marcus, the way this works is I bring up the conspiracy, I talk about the situation, and then you guys give your take on whether or not you believe in it, or if there's more to add to it, or whatever it is. We had a guest on the show a long time ago who is another Virginia native. He's actually in charge of the veterans in Virginia, Daniel Gate, all right, Wounding Warriors, okay, and I put in my Facebook post how awesome it was to have him on the show and actually read that book, because he pretty much prepares you for how the VA is going to treat you. Right. And he prepares you for how he's trying to say, he ruffles feathers, because he says that the VA and the government, they actually hurt warriors more by the way that they treat them and the way they make them feel helpless, and by the way they tell them that they can't do these things. So it ruffles some feathers, but we don't give a shit about that. But it's, as I've gotten out and I'm seeing the way that I'm getting treated, right? I went right back to his book again. So the conspiracy for today is, it's not, the local worker at the VA, it's the administration itself. All right. Does the government and the administration itself actually try to kill veterans? All right. Drug you up, make you useless.
Yeah.
Go away. All right. Because, and we'll get into the big pharma. We've covered big pharma before. Buddy had a good point about big pharma, saying how a lot of this stuff is made that actually help something.
Yeah.
Right. And there's things that, it can help. And then big pharma finds a way to make money on it. Right. And then they find a way that, we can treat you like Joe, who used to be on the show. Trigger Joe doesn't come on the Trash Talk Hour anymore, but he was literally on 9 prescriptions when he got out. Mm-hmm. And 3 of them were to cancel the effects of the other 5 that he was taking that, I'm like, what?
Fucking
and it's
cocktail.
like, yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking like, this isn't right. This isn't real. Like, these are just people making this shit up. Well, Let me tell you something. It's freaking real. So I'll go on my rant after the conspiracy, but the conspiracy is because of the drag on the economy that veterans are on the GDP. Do you think that it's somewhere in a room that people are actually making sure that we die, and we die faster than we should, and that we don't become successful when we become very dependent on opioids and everything else? All right, I'll go on my rant after the conspiracy, but to actually tell you what happened to me. But let's start off with Mike. Mike, do you think that the administration and the establishment actually wants veterans to die?
So obviously now we're going to get started. So I have to disclose that all my comments and opinions are mine. They're not federal government, which I work for. Okay, these are all mine, and I'm on my time off. It's Saturday.
That's a disclaimer right there. Okay,
that's my disclaimer. So I would say yes, because I visited the Zombieville down in Richmond, Virginia, at the VA clinic. If you look at all the zombies or the veterans that go down there that are on these meds, we're collecting disability, right? So we are a drain you look at it, if I could be direct on the government, some of us have, fought long and hard. I think that, that's their answer is, hey, let's get them on these, petroleum based, drugs. I mean, all these, big pharma does a lot of their work on, with petroleum products. So I would have to say, absolutely. I think there is a conspiracy. And obviously it's at the top, but I think how we kind of experience, the VA, it's really at the technician level or the administrative level. I mean, like my opinion, they don't hire the best and the brightest, and so we wait long hours. It's an overcrowded system. So, in my opinion, I think your conspiracy is on point that, they don't hire the best and the brightest. And that's what they do is they get us all doped up, and keep us, addicted to, prescriptions. And then that way we can be labeled, and so on. So
Yeah,
I agree. Yes.
wounding warriors, actually hurting us. But
Hurting.
I forgot, but before I go to Marcus, I forgot one key, actual proof. All right, numbers, data. So I looked it up from 2017 was the easiest report to read where they actually had all the numbers broken down. There are 52 million veterans that the VA is responsible for. The VA spent over $109 billion on pharmaceuticals in 2017. That's 1/3 of the entire revenue for big pharma. So how many people in the United States? 400-something million?
360 or something like that.
360, right? So less than what, 10%, 20, 15% of the population, right? And we are 1/3 of the entire income for big pharma. 1/3. Right. So I always say when we talk conspiracy, I go follow the money. I go, wherever there's money is where it is. So all right, Marcus, what say you on the conspiracy?
So like Mike, I have to disclaim that, my opinions are mine alone and don't necessarily reflect those of my employer. But I think that the truth is probably a little bit more nuanced. I think what we do see is that, you have these unelected bureaucrats who try to implement one size fits all policies. And, we see this at the VA, we see this with the vaccine mandates, and they don't take into account or necessarily even care whether or not those policies, those one size fits all policies, disproportionately hurt some of the people that are subject to those policies. I think even as far as like big pharma is concerned, a dead patient is not a patient that's going to make them money. So do they want people dead? No, I don't think so. I would disagree with that premise. Do they want people dependent on drugs that they're going to have to take for the rest of their life? Sure, absolutely. Regardless of what sort of health effects those drugs have on their system.
So a couple things to add to that. So there is a dynamic with the veterans that are using the VA system. So obviously the VA is covering them. So the cost is probably, if anything, big pharma is billing, let's see, the government, because it's one big rotating door. But also keeping in mind that there is probably billions of dollars a year that are given out to veterans that have disability claims that are out there that are getting disability checks. So how do they regulate that? How do they stop that? Is they build them up at the VA.
I kind of to add a little bit to what I said, it's sort of like what we're seeing with the vaccines, with the COVID vaccines. They weren't happy with just a one-off shot. They weren't happy with the first round of boosters. What they've done is they've built this system where now you have a majority of the population conditioned to think that for the rest of our lives, we're going to have to take a booster every 6 months or every year in order to protect ourselves against COVID. And what it is a guaranteed revenue stream.
For sure. All right, Cliff.
So if you guys have been watching my podcast, you know that I'm big into gardening, and I've really made a switch to, all natural remedies and stuff like that. I'm putting in a whole new herb garden. So I really got into that. And if you look back how pharmaceuticals taken over, how they've taken over the business in the last 70 years, people used to heal themselves from stuff they grew and they ate. And I think that you're starting to see a big push for that. And I think a lot of that came from the COVID vaccine. I think people looked at that vaccine. They're seeing now what that vaccine is doing to people that took that vaccine, with these athletes dropping dead and
we
dropping
can't say
dead.
that.
I mean,
Don't say that.
if you look at the statistics, it's pretty damn
Those stats are real.
scary
Big
what's
news.
going on. And I read an article the other day, and it really kind of irritated me when they were saying that, I don't understand why the unvaccinated didn't warn us about the vaccination more. And so it's really their fault, the reason we got vaccinated, because the unvaccinated didn't tell us why they wasn't getting vaccinated. Now, for me, anybody who's been in the military, after I went through the rounds of anthrax shots, and then anybody who's been in for a while went through that horse shit, I question anything going into my body after that crap, because that was probably one of the worst things that they ever did in the military. And anybody who's been in or was in during that time will probably agree with me. And it was completely worthless. And the amount of
There was
damage.
two
Six shots.
batches.
Yeah.
Five or six.
Two batches of the boosters in 2009 and 10 were it was at Fort Campbell and Fort Bragg. Could cause early sets of Parkinson's.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would argue with you, Cliff, and the only thing that I would argue with is the anthrax might not have been as bad as making people sit in bleachers while they watch nuclear bombs go off. Like I said, the military has got a long history of some ethically, medically questionable experiments on people that are in the military. Like, no, guys, it's only a couple megatons. Just here's
I like how they.
Let's see what.
I like how they compare. Great segue, Marcus. I like how they compare. The COVID emergency use authorization to all the shots in the military's shot lineup. Well, 99% of those shots the military are taken were not emergency use or investigate new drugs.
Can we also talk about the fact that the emergency use authorization authorized the use of one particular batch of the Pfizer drug? One.
Yes, one batch. Yeah,
one
with the DOA.
specific batch, and nobody had it. But you had to take a shot, even though it wasn't authorized by the emergency authorization.
Got to take to find out what's in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the
change the parameters. So
it's science. Fauci is science, guys.
Fauci is. I literally had every argument with Fauci said it, and then everybody is quiet.
Yeah.
Like Fauci said it. Like Fauci said, this guy's green tonight. Sorry. Like,
it's
just, it is what it is.
And I love the quote that we're moving at the speed of science. Like, when did science become a measurement for velocity? Okay.
When they silenced the people who questioned it, and even the guy who developed the MNR technology, who came out and said this is not what it was developed for, and he says wait till 2, 3, 5 years, and it's not going to be good. And what he said 2 years ago, we're starting to see now, and it's sadly it's only going to get worse.
Oh yeah, 10 years from now, you're gonna have the commercials. If you've taken the COVID vaccine, you
may be entitled to compensation.
You won't.
Nobody's gonna care at that point.
What do you
see? Videos out there
now that
of
coming out with a
Fauci back in the
vaccine
80s.
to help with the heart inflammation caused by the COVID vaccine?
Yeah,
it's only minor. It's slight myocarditis, which
There's
is
video.
from what the report that I watched and read, the moderate myocarditis only means moderate if you're not the one with the myocarditis. For anybody else, just a little bit of swelling is not good. Like,
I mean, like even the mainstream media, the MSM released the study we've talked about on the show before from Belgium, where all of their Olympic runners after the second booster lost an average 2.1% of their VO2 max.
Yeah.
Right. These are Olympic freaking athletes.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's like, and you don't think that matters to an Olympic athlete? 2% of their VO2 max for a long distance runner? Yeah, it kind of does. A little bit. So,
and those are the kind of people that are the last people at risk for COVID.
Correct, Marcus. Yeah. Like, they're not going to die from it. They're not even going to get sick, probably.
Well, if you want to talk about a conspiracy, the conspiracy for that would be.
Well, we got to close out Nick's conspiracy first, everybody.
Oh yeah. So back to Nick. So sorry, I went on a rant. So I think they're trying to big pharma keep people addicted to their medications. That's why you see more commercials about medication on TV.
Yep.
I think that's easy to do with veterans.
Cliff's dying. Oh,
I know.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's big contracts with at the upper
Give him the
government
pill.
level. I think depending upon the administration that's in charge, they don't care about veterans. And that's why you're seeing them push resources to the illegals coming across the border, where they're taking VA doctors and other resources and giving it to them. We've seen that's been reported. And so I think the level of care for the veterans is nil. And I think they could care less whether we lived or died. And so I agree somewhat with that. I think Big Pharma wants to keep us alive and addicted to medication. And when a certain party's in power, they don't care about veterans because they don't care about the military. And I think they would just rather us go away.
Interesting. All
Is it
right.
because
buddy.
we served our purpose, Cliff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm probably the least smart person here, but I pulled some stuff up real quick.
You take notes. You took notes, buddy. You took notes.
Just some common sense stuff, and let's go over a little bit of a timeline. The VA started. The VA became a thing in 1921. For anybody that knows anybody about history, the reason that the VA even started was because in World War II, from 1916 to 1918.
World War I, genius.
World War I from 1916 to 1918. The government needed people, so they promised these huge bonuses. Well, then when that war got over, they didn't have the money to pay said bonuses. So to placate the people that were in Washington marching on Roosevelt, they said, all right, we'll make the VA, we'll try to take care of you, we'll give you some benefits, just go back home, do some farming, leave us alone, and here you go. That started the VA in 1921. That war was 2 years long. Okay. Then we moved to World War II, 5 years long, from 1940 to 1945. Most of the people, a lot of people got killed, but you still had a lot more people that are trying to get benefits. Then you move into Korea, it's only 3 years. You get Vietnam, which was, depending on who you're talking to, 17 years. Well, now we're at the GWAT. We still have the two longest wars in American history, still have veterans that are alive and receiving benefits from it. The amount of veterans that went to Vietnam, the amount of veterans that have been involved in the GWAT and are on benefits and receiving care from the VA is so astounding that the VA wasn't made. There's no possible way that the VA in its original form, with its original administrative, just organizational task, can keep track of all of the veterans that they have. The problem is too big for an organization of its size, even though its size is huge. And the way that they try to fix that is they hire more people. Well, they just hire more bureaucrats and more admin, not more doctors, more nurses, and more, people to take care of people. They hire people to answer phones and those people don't give two shits about anybody. Now, I will say that the VA is a lot like the military. The military, when they go on a deployment, it seems like, soldiers actually give a shit about the people that they're around, whether it's, Iraqis or it's Afghanis or whatever. The regular people they actually care about and they want to help. The military, not so much. They just want the job done. If those people get hurt, they don't really give a shit. They just want the job done. So in between those two people, there's a big disconnect, and the VA can't handle that disconnect. Now, we've been popping pills and handing out pills, but that started with everybody. The military was giving out Percocets and oxycodone. If you had a tooth pulled, they give you a
candy,
bottle
man.
of Percocet
Yeah,
and
Percocet.
oxycodone. And I think that was because they didn't realize how strong, the doctors didn't know how strong and how addictive that shit was. They may have known that it was it wasn't.
I think they
great,
knew,
but
I'll
but
get
I
to
don't
it when it's my
no,
turn. But
I don't. I think they knew that it had that there was a possibility, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen how huge that problem was going to end up being. And then they tried to police themselves, but it was a little bit too late. You can't pull that bullet back once you fired it. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it isn't it doesn't hurt the VA when more veterans die. It doesn't. It helps out their problem. They don't have any motivation to fix that problem. It doesn't hurt the VA if you have a bunch of zombies walking around that really are fine with, their disability or whatever, and then they just sit at home and watch fucking Bob Ross paint
Oprah
pictures. You know what I mean? Like they're basically, they have become a neutral population that doesn't speak out against anything. They just shut up. They take their money. They eat their processed food. Then they die at 55, 60, 70 years old. They're gone. You pay one last payment. You don't have to worry about them anymore. So there's no motivation for the VA to do better, because the side effect of them doing better is that they have to pay more money. And nobody wants to say the hard truth. And the hard truth is, you motherfuckers are the ones that started a 20-year goddamn war. You're the one that sent us where you wanted us to go. You're the one that sent those guys to fucking Vietnam. You're the one that sent those boys to fucking the GWAT over and over and over and over without having a fucking plan to get out, without having a goal to reach, without having anything to do. So guess what? You got to pay the fucking price. That is the price of doing business. Now the bills do. So you don't like taking pay. And the thing is, they know that if they keep you drugged up, then they don't have to worry about 1919. They don't have to worry about 1920 when a bunch of veterans grab their shotguns and their rifles and walk their happy asses up to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and said, hey, you give us our shit or we're going to fuck you up. They don't have to worry about that, because they're high as giraffe pussy sitting there watching TV and don't give a shit. They'll bitch a little bit, but other than that, they're not going to do anything that messes up their disability payment.
Right.
So
you haven't referenced giraffe pussy in a while. It's good. That's a great take.
That's my my just dumb take on
All right, Dave.
I'll keep it short. I will put the tinfoil hat on it a little bit. I personally don't think the VA is trying to kill us. I think
aliens are.
Yeah, the reptilians actually, or the Illuminati. No, all jokes aside, it's definitely a money grabber. And those doctors are told what they can prescribe. They're like, there's a mandate out there that says, hey, these are the meds that you have to give. And sadly, some of those meds are Valium and all the other fucking crazy sleeping pills and shit, which those are drugs. So you automatically get addicted to drugs, and they make a shit ton of money. So I think that's how the VA just continues to proceed with what they do. I don't think, like Buddy said, the doctors didn't know. I think the doctors know damn well what the effects of those drugs are and that they are addictive. I just think their hands are tied by politics and whatever, and that's all that they can give us. That's why when Cliff talked about holistic health and everything, I totally believe in that. And this is where my tinfoil hat is going to come on. I truly believe with the technology and the science that we have, we probably have cure for cancer out there. But that would they would lose so much fucking money if we had a cure for cancer, because all these cancer treatments, I mean, I lost my aunt to cancer in 2007, $90,000 to $120,000 in debt. She ended up passing from breast cancer, but like just the treatments itself, and we have thousands, millions of Americans that are going through that. So tinfoil hat, yes, there are cures for things. It's definitely a money grabber, but the VA is not trying to kill us.
To caveat to you, Dave, they've been studies where fasting actually destroys the older cells that do become to turn into cancer. And so that's
it's weird. There's this book that was written a long time ago about telling that fasting was a good thing to do. I think it was the Bible.
And if you read like the book of Buddha and like self-healing and stuff, where it's like all internal. And then we did have, I forgot the guest's name, who had cancer, who said, fuck it, in his last, no, they told him he had like 2 weeks, you remember? And he just said he went out to the woods, out in the nature, and like didn't wear shoes and socks and stuff. And he went fishing for a couple of days. And then suddenly, like out of nowhere, his cancer just started disappearing. Like he was one with nature.
Yeah, the warriors for the outdoors.
Yeah, exactly. So
Cliff actually, Cliff hit, like skipped across something a little bit ago that, talked about like cancer and the VA, all that stuff. We don't do ourselves any justice by going out and grabbing like every process. The reason that we can make as much food as we make is because we make it for a mass amount of people. So it's quantity, it's not quality. So if you grow your own shit, you know what you're putting on it. Like you're eating vegetables, but you're also eating all the pesticides and bullshit that they put on it.
Brian in the
and-
chat. Brian in the chat, real quick, says it's population control. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the veteran population.
I just want to touch real quick on what Dave said about doctors, though. I don't think that they do know necessarily that it's going to be addictive. I think what we have created, especially in the last few years, is a medical system that punishes doctors, censors doctors who are independent thinkers, who try to think outside the box. These guys, especially in the VA and other government institutions, they're just going through a checklist. They're checking the boxes. They're reading whatever bulletin came out and has kind of the highlights. They're not actually digging in and trying to think about the second and third order effects of the things that they're doing.
Yeah,
would you suggest though that they know? Would you suggest?
Well, we talked about this on a show a long time ago.
We did.
When we were talking about COVID. We talked about the fact that, back in the day, this was when COVID first came out.
Thinking, yeah.
Back in the day, we've got all of these teaching hospitals all over the country. Back in the day, if something like a pandemic, like COVID, swine flu, any of that stuff would have happened, you would have had all of these teaching hospitals that had 15 different treatments that they were trying on these different, and then they would send that up and they would all talk, and then they would figure out what was working best, what wasn't working. But you had all these doctors that thought through the problem because they knew how every one of those systems worked.
Mm-hmm.
But we have made an education system and a medical system that regurgitates information and doesn't understand how it works. But if they have a flow chart. If you have this symptom, and this symptom, and this symptom,
take this, take that.
You go here, you take this pill.
Yeah.
Protocol. You guys, buddy, let me get to my rant because you all covered it.
For most of it.
You all covered
right.
parts of my rant, okay? Especially with Cliff's, the nature of things, and how holistic things were helping, and like you just said, buddy, protocols. Like Mike just said, protocols. Okay, I had a protocol issue. So here's my rant. All right. Usually I give the Book of Burrow, but this is a rant.
It would behoove everybody to listen.
All right, it's got the cops called by the VA. All right, it behoove everyone to listen. I am not the guy, El Paso VA, that's going to sit down and take it. Okay, I'm not that guy. I will get the whole fucking community riled up. All right, I even got a guy to yell "F you" bad words to them. Like, I had the whole place riled up. Right, and so
good for you.
He called me afterwards. He was heated.
I retired. I retired in April. Okay. I was put in for physical therapy in April. I still have yet to get a physical therapy appointment. All right. Yeah. Pain management. I got my first referral in October. Okay. For pain management. Now, here's the thing. I'll do a little bit of my own personal health history for this. Pain management in the military actually does a pretty good job. All right. And the last thing they want to do is medicate. All right. But that's the last step that pain management does. All right. They go through all these steps, their protocols, to see if you can continue your job in the military. All right. If you can't, then they say, well, there's maybe some medication that can help you continue your job in the military. All right. So, or it's bye, med board, see you later. That's the last step. Okay. With my knee, the surgeon said, I got good news. I can fix your knee. I go, and it's like, I also got bad news. I go, what? He goes, you need a knee replacement. I'm not doing it until you're 55 years old. Right. And it's like, so I'm like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with my freaking, with my career? It's like, find a new job, and I was like, oh shit, so, but anyways, I have these pain management guys that say, hey, you're not responding really well to these opioids, are you? Like, I know they ruined my life. And they're like, well, have you ever thought about marijuana? And I go, I actually don't want to smoke it that much. I go, he's like, no. He's like, we'll give you pills that are synthetic THC. I was like, get the fuck out of here, really? And so they did, right? And I had the memo from my command that when I popped hot, like, hey, here you go. He's taking these for his sleep, his anxiety, his pain, and because they were giving me Valium like it was freaking candy, right? And it's like I couldn't sleep at night. Like I was horrible,
like a zombie after that.
Yeah, horrible condition, right? So I'm talking to one doctor and I said, hey, I need a refill because now I'm in the VA now. I'm not with active duty. I go, hey, I need this prescription re-upped. He's like, yeah, I can't do that. I go, you can't or you won't. And he said, it's not part of the protocol. Mm-hmm. And I said, So I've been taking this drug for over 2 years, and it's helped. And he's like, well, I got to send you out to pain management. I go, oh, that's good because I've had a referral for 6 months. Maybe you could fucking push that along. Right. And then that's what I told him. I go, how about you fucking pretend that physical therapy is a COVID shot? I'd probably have 5 fucking appointments by now.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's
Like,
your booster.
like,
You want it?
Yeah. So then, you know, I go to pain management. He's like, we'll give you Tylenol with codeine. I'm like, oh, would you? Oh, that's nice.
Of course.
I was like, I don't fucking want that. Right. And but again, it's not in their protocol for them to
So
give
sad,
me,
man.
to give me Dronabinol. So then I look at, I storm out of the office. I tell him to go fuck himself. Right. He comes out of his office. Like, he follows me like the ref during the football game trying to give freaking Joey Bosa a flag. Right. He follows me. And I go, hey, let me ask you a question, Doc. And now we're in front of people. I said, let me ask you a question. I go, would you prescribe Valium to me right now? And he goes, well, yeah. I go, yeah, see, you go fuck yourself. I'm like, you suck. I'm like, and I go, and he's like, well, that's the way the system has been. I go, yeah, and how's that system doing for fucking veterans right now? You know, and I was like, you know, again, I am fortunate enough, or, you know, the liberals would say I'm privileged enough, all right, I'm still in good shape. I can do the physical therapy stuff in my garage, right? And that still helps me. And, you know, I eat healthy. My wife buys organic food. I do all that stuff, you know, I'm privileged enough to take care of myself. But this is where I got into like the conspiracy where it's like and then with Dr. Gadd's book, like they're literally trying to drug me up again. And I have not gotten into an actual physical therapy appointment since I retired. It's almost a year now. And I have called the patient advocates. I called all of them. And I'll give a shout out to Congresswoman Escobar's office. Right, their team did look into it, and it did get action moving. And then the Texas Veterans Commission is freaking awesome. All right, so if you're looking to donate someplace, if you live in Texas, you can do it on your ballot. All right, when I called them and had a problem, I was on 3-way phone conversations with the pharmacy, with the VA administration, so that they could ask the question that I wanted the answer to through a conduit, and where they actually had to tell the truth. Right, and so so the Texas Veterans Commission is freaking phenomenal. But that's my rant. All right. So I made a post about it on Facebook. All right. The El Paso VA failed me. And I guarantee you they're failing lots of other veterans. And why?
That's scary, man. I mean, that's one of the reasons.
There's a lot of veterans in El Paso. Right. And so, like, they are overworked. They don't have enough doctors for all the veterans in El Paso. And like Dave said, I said this in the post. I go, I'm so happy that I helped start this community because I can go to somebody and I can pose a question, and I can read a post every day about somebody who's dealing with an issue that maybe I dealt with too, right? And then this community is how I met Dr. Gadd. This community is how I met MH. She's watching, MH is watching, you know, with their herbal supplements that they have, right? Like, you meet people like that, you know, and it's like, oh, that's an option. Okay, yeah. And then there's people, hey, have you tried doing this? Never heard about that, right? This community of veterans, like Buddy talked about in 1920, where, you know, if we come together, all right, we don't have to storm the Capitol because that'll just be insurrection, right? But we can come together and we can take care of each other.
Yeah.
All right, and we can say, hey, look, buddy, I got something for you. Try this. Maybe you know, go ask your doctor about this, right? All these kind of things, like this stuff you can do. But yeah, that's my rant. Anybody want to say anything about it before I introduce to give Mike and Marcus their time?
I just posted a couple of holistic things in the chat for people to look at, the benefits of lemon seeds for pain. And if you want to have something that's in there, now you can't mix with alcohol, so do not mix it with alcohol, but take a teaspoon of honey before you go to sleep at night. It will have an amazing effect, but you can't drink alcohol with it because the 2 different sugars affect your body differently. But so don't drink one day and take a teaspoon of honey, and you will have the most vivid dreams you've ever had in your life and get the most restful sleep. It is the weirdest thing that I have studied and started doing, and it's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's every survival guide. When you're somewhere and you find honey, eat it.
Yeah,
right. Like
it lasts 3,000 years in a jar.
Hey Nick, I do have a couple comments.
It's all available to us, man.
Go ahead, Mike.
I got a couple comments here. So first off, for all the veterans that are listening in, I've been retired for almost 9 years now. So, and we've all had the same kind of experiences, but what I've learned, there's a White House VA hotline. So if you're not getting any kind of traction with your VA office or with your community care, that's the community care. If you don't know what community care is, that there's a participating doctors that are in your local area that work with the VA. So the VA contracts them out. You won't get the top doctors, but you'll get, someone that's a doctor's office that is looking for clients. That phone number is, get ready to copy if you don't know it, 855-948-2311, 855-948-2311, or you can Google, use the Google machine, White House VA hotline if it's not, censored. They are they are very helpful. I've had a lot of success with those guys. But to your point, Nick, and Dave's point is, so the question is, why isn't the VA looking at the whole, and maybe to Cliff's, but why is the VA, well, how come they're not pushing the holistic health?
It's less money. Less money.
Exactly. So then
$109 billion.
Right. So then there is an agenda. And then start peeling back that onion, or hop down that rabbit hole that we all know that we're talking conspiracies. Well, the conspiracies is because, those that are in the know, don't want us to, be awakened. But point is, then if they're not pushing healthy, because people with the money and the elites, and they go for the holistic approach, they stay far away from all the, the drugs, or the drugs that are made with all sorts of what's in them. But the point is if the VA really cared about us, then why aren't they pushing more of a holistic approach first, getting us addicted to drugs that we shouldn't be addicted to. And then tighten that tinfoil hat even further is, obviously, there's 20 years of fighting. So if we're going to stand up for ourselves, we the people, who is it? It's going to be us. But then if we're all addicted to drugs, we can't own weapons, we can't hold a job, or whatever the case is, or we become on some kind of weird watch list. So the point is, if you have a good peace of mind, stay off of prescriptions. There's other ways out there, like Cliff. There's a bunch of other folks out there. Reach out to them. And there's a lot of information out there to, kind of stay healthy, kind of holistically.
There's all kinds of books you can go out and buy. I'm reading one, the Encyclopedia of Herbal Health, but really what you have to do is look at the elements that affect you, and then look at the herbs that can correct that and fix that. And you'll be amazed at what you find out once you go down that rabbit hole. I grew up that way. Now, we moved away from the farm when I got older, when I joined the military, but I'm going back to the way that I grew up, because I think that's why my family overall are extremely healthy, and we don't ever get sick. And I think it's because that's the way we were raised. We lived off the land when I was a kid, and I did that up until my 20s. So I think there's a lot to that.
A lot of it is just personal, like physically and mentally, like we always say, get your body right, get your mind right, mentally, if you're messed up and you're just pissed off, and it's going to continue, you're going to go down, real fast. And then physically too. I mean, take care of yourself. And those two combined, like you see the guys on Ardennes at Fort Bragg, they're like 90 years old, man, running down Ardennes Road. That's probably the only thing that's keeping that dude alive, but he's
All-Star Major Guida.
Yeah. You remember that guy, man? Hey, holy shit.
Yeah. Let's get to our guests. All right, why they're on here. So we got Marcus, who was a Border Patrol agent, and then now works for the State Department, which he doesn't officially represent today. And then Mike Orloff, who was my company commander in Afghanistan in 2012. And I just got to say one thing about him. He has the camera go right, but he's like Tom Cruise. He's real short, but he's really cool. All right. So like, he just.
And I'm not a Scientologist.
Yeah, not he didn't.
And I don't have his money.
Setup. Yeah. However, he did say one thing to me one time when I went into the office and I said, "No, this is a good thing, Mike. This is a good one. You're gonna like it." I said, "Hey, do you mind if I take my guys up to the MWR?" I was like, it's a little early in the day. I was like, we kind of fixed our.
Yeah, you need to fix your internet. That's what you need to do.
You teach your soldiers everything you know.
Your bill.
Am I frozen?
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, you're good now.
Am I good?
Frozen. He's freezing
now. Okay, yeah. So he said, he goes, have you taught your guys everything you know today? And I was like, nope. So it is what it is. But hey, these guys are vets for medical freedom. Marcus, I believe, is the CEO, correct?
Yeah.
And Mike's a board member. So welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. Welcome to the dumpster fire. Tell us what you guys got going on, and salute to that 10th Mountain Bourbon. It's doing great. Welcome, guys.
Thanks. Well, it's great to be here. Appreciate you guys inviting us onto your podcast and, the opportunity to tell our story and hopefully share some resources for the people that are listening in. So Mike and I are members of the board. I'm the president and one of the co-founders of this organization, Feds for Medical Freedom. We started the day that Biden issued his executive orders with the COVID mandates, vaccine mandates. And since that date, just a little over a year ago, we've grown from a very small handful to today almost 10,000 federal employees and contractors spread across every state all around the globe and just about every corner of the government. So our goal as an organization, our primary goal is to end the mandates. And we're trying to do that through a number of different ways. We have a bunch of different cases in federal court right now. It was our group that got the injunction against Biden in January of last year that sort of put the mandates on hold for federal employees, and ever since. And that case is still working through the courts. We had a hearing. The most recent hearing was in September down in Louisiana in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We still haven't gotten a decision in that case, but we're cautiously optimistic that it's going to be in our favor. And we fully expect that once it works through that process, the DOJ will appeal it to the Supreme Court because they don't know how to cut their losses and admit that they were wrong about all of this. But we're continuing to fight. We're still seeing a lot of discrimination against federal employees, most of whom did not comply with the mandates on the basis of religious convictions. And, especially within the DoD, we've seen a lot of travel restrictions. We've seen people, especially with the military, we've seen people kicked out. We've seen security clearances revoked, people banned from traveling, kicked off of projects, and overall just a really hostile environment for people who stood up for what they believe in and said, this is wrong. It violates my convictions. It violates the oath that I took. I'm not going along with it. And even if we win in court, I'm afraid that we haven't seen the end of this. They're not going to let up. They're not going to let go. Over the last year, federal agencies have created a lot of new databases just to put the names and information of those who dissented, who didn't comply, into these databases. And I think that we'll see, even if we win in court, they're going to try and kick us out of government, purge us from the government by any other means possible. So it's a big fight. It really is a David versus Goliath fight, but so far we're winning, and hope that streak continues. And we're just getting started. So anybody who is a DoD civilian or a civilian with other federal agencies, you can go to our website, fedsformedfreedom.org. Check us out. We'll get you plugged into the community and get you the resources you need to stand up and continue this fight.
That's fedsformedfreedom.org.
Yes.
I'll put it in the chat, unless Chris already did. But yeah. Right. So okay. So what you're saying is that, are you guys a nonprofit?
We are. We just got 501c3 status officially earlier this month, but we are a nonprofit. Yes.
Right. And then I think this goes without saying, but legislation is expensive, right? Being in the legal process is super expensive. So that's what we were talking about earlier with the conspiracy is if we all stand up and fight, we still got to fund it, right? So
we do.
Yes, tell us how.
I think over the last year and a half, we've spent probably collectively within our organization, between the federal lawsuits, class action EEO complaints and everything else, we've probably spent close to $2 million on attorneys' fees. And to the government, that's just a drop in the bucket. That is all grassroots funded. We all came together, pooled our money, and said, let's see what we can do. But we're up against the Department of Justice, who has an unlimited reserve of funds that they can tap into, unlimited numbers of lawyers that they can throw at us. And I think we're in the right. I think we're on the right side of history, and we're going to win this fight. But it's not easy. It's not cheap, and we do need all the help we can get.
All right.
Awesome. Go ahead, Nick.
Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
No. So obviously we understand the fact that, what you guys want to do, but can you talk a little bit about why you don't don't believe in the mandate, like essentially, you know, maybe some of the things behind COVID and the shot in itself, and like, you know, some of the health risks that you guys see, or at least your opinion on it?
Or just freedom, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
For,
just
for a lot
freedom,
of people,
you know,
it's
freedom
just
being
about
the
freedom.
biggest one. Yeah, okay.
In the Constitution, it says that there shouldn't be any sort of religious test as a condition of holding office. And what we've seen over the past year and a half is agencies try to implement sort of a religious purity test and determine whether or not your beliefs are good enough. And we've seen this in the military too, where almost none of the religious accommodation requests have been approved. Where, you know, they say, well, you know, your religious beliefs aren't quite good enough for them to qualify for this. And that's wrong. No matter which way you at it, which we come at it. But the reasons for people, even within our organization, the reasons vary wildly. We've got, you know, everything from people with religious convictions, people with medical conditions where they've had maybe in some cases bad reactions to vaccines on prior occasions, or even bad reactions to the COVID vaccine itself, and they're trying to get an accommodation to a waiver so that they don't have to get more shots. And we've seen some of those denied. Like here you have cases where somebody's had a bad reaction to the COVID shot, and the government comes back and they say, yeah, you know what, we still want you to go ahead and get that second round or get that booster. But Mike, if you want to jump in as well and give some of your perspectives on why people are pushing back on this.
Yeah, so it's always tough to follow Marcus. That's why, Nick, I said if I'm going to come on, I'm going to bring the.
He just took it all, man.
So I have nothing left to say. No. Again, at the end of the day, there's always black letter law out there, you know. So if our unelected leaders that are out there, or our leaders that are out there, don't recognize, you know, the religious exemption, there's laws out there. So for those folks that are listening in, so for civilians, there's 21 USC 360 B that says that if it's an emergency use authorization, you could say no. And then if you are a military personnel, there is 10 USC 1107 that says if it's emergency use authorization, you must have informed consent. You must give informed consent. You're not getting that. So no one, either it's the federal workforce or the military, no one is being given informed consent. If you were to get one of those preliminary or the BLA, which they don't exist, you get those information information sheets if nothing is on there. So looking at if everyone that, you know, with that's within the federal government, whether you're a military or you're a civilian, you know, we swear an oath, you know, to the Constitution. Well, it appalls me that I don't know if people that are in the military or work for the federal government have they ever read it. But the fact is that, you know,
a lot of them
those that
haven't. That's the problem.
the fact is that those who are saying no actually believe in what they're doing. When they take that oath, we love our country. There isn't anybody that I met, and we are all walks of life. So when we go to these events, these functions, there's all races, there's all religions, there's all shapes of people. It's about their personal belief, but at the end of the day, there's black letter law that back all this up, and unfortunately that our government and our agencies are blindly, again, in my opinion, are blindly just ignoring the laws that guide our way of life.
Yeah.
So,
and then from my understanding, it just passed and it's no longer mandated, right? Like
that's only for the military. That's only for active duty. That was part of the NDA. Correct. But for DoD civilians, for everybody else in the civilian workforce, contractors, it's still on the line.
And I didn't read between the lines in regards to the ones that got kicked out. Is there any work being done there? Are they like? Because I know we had that big. It started in New York, right? All the government workers were able to be brought back to work
with back pay.
With back pay.
Right.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, the ones that got kicked out, they're done. There's no at this point in time. They're not like
we're working on it. We're trying to pursue stuff on the legislative front, on the litigation front as well, to try and get those people reinstated to ensure some kind of protections. But
it's so sad. I mean, what's the number? Do you guys know the number? Like
No, and
military?
even if we had numbers from the
9,000
military or
9,000
from the
No, it was more than
civilian,
that, Nick. It was more than that.
My
We're just
God.
talking
even if we knew how many were kicked out, that wouldn't capture the number who quit or retired early because of all this. And,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
you
think
gotta add
that
those
number
up, yeah.
is
Or we're allowed to
exponentially
EPS.
higher than those who were actually fired.
What does the union think about this? The government, union. I mean,
That is an excellent question.
because I've dealt with them. I've dealt with them as a manager and trying to get rid of bad GS employees, and they are horrendous to work for. And to me, it makes a lot of sense that if the union flips, it will all end.
So historically, the role of a union is to stand up for employees' rights against an employer who's violating law or policy, right? And in this case, we didn't see that, unfortunately. So a lot of us are actually suing our unions for failure to represent on this matter. In some cases, like with my union at the State Department, they were actually very aggressively and proactively advocating for vaccine mandates, even when Psaki was up on stage saying the White House doesn't have the authority to do this back in the summer of 2021. So unions failed us in almost every single instance. There are some union locals that stood up in defiance against their national unions, and represented their members and tried to fight it. But by and large, I think that the unions failed to do their job in every way imaginable on this. And that brings me to another point, and that is that, none of this happened in a vacuum. If we had unions that were standing up and doing their jobs, if we had mid-level, high-level management who actually took their oath seriously and were doing their jobs, these mandates never would have happened, because when the president issued the mandates, he said it's up to each agency to implement these in a manner that's consistent with law. And if you look at the law, there should have been a much more measured approach than what we saw. And so one of our goals as an organization, even looking beyond the litigation, looking more on the legislative front and sort of long-term goals, none of this happened in a vacuum. It happened because there was a bureaucracy, an unelected bureaucracy that is not reflective of the American people. It's not reflective of our geographic diversity or our political diversity. And we want to see, to work through the mechanisms that are in place through the Congress and lobbying, grassroots activism. We want to see reform in the way the government civil service is run. We want to see a federal workforce on the civilian side that is reflective of the values of the average American, which we don't have today. And I think, all of us recognize that that's an issue. We can sit here all day and talk about the deep state and all of this corruption within the government. And that doesn't happen, or it's much more difficult for that to happen if we were to have a federal workforce that's reflective of American values. So even when we get through these mandates and win this fight, there's still a lot of work ahead of us, because we want to see fundamental reforms, and that would include entities like the VA, where those people within the VA should reflect the values of the population that they serve.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead, Cliff.
I just wanted to
shut that dog up, Cliff.
Yeah, no, that's Falco. He was in here a minute ago. Lloyd's coming in the house.
Throw his ball.
No, I just want to point out, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, that within the government federal system, depending upon which organization you work for, there's different rules that govern them. And I think a lot of people think it's all under one umbrella. And when people talk about deep state, they think about congressmen and senators, but the deep state really is a lot of the federal employees out there. And those are the ones that are setting the policy, writing those things. And those are the ones who've been in their jobs for a lot of years, create a lot of the issues that we're talking about now. And if anybody who's worked with long-term GS employees know, there's a lot of good ones out there, but just like in the VA and everywhere else.
A lot of great VA workers out there too.
There is, but there's those ones that are set in their policies, and I'll be damned, and they've been in that job for 20, 30 years, that they're not going to change that. And that's what you're fighting against. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And when you go from DOD to State Department to Department of Homeland Security, those are different sets of rules, and it all changes. It's not the same.
Yeah, the two people that'll kill this conversation that we're having right now, and I always talk about this, is, on the left and right of the bell curve, is you got the ones right now listening to you saying, well, you're just an anti-vaxxer, you suck, right? Like, you don't care about public health. And then you have the other side of that where it's like, yeah, the COVID vaccine is not necessary. It kills everybody, right? Maybe true, maybe not, right? But it's like COVID.
It puts trackers in your arm.
It makes the spoon stick to your arm, right? Like so, like there's the two people that kills the conversation. But like again, getting back to, you know, we've said this before on the show, talking about COVID, because COVID is all people talked about for a year, and why we started this company pretty much is COVID did exist. It does exist, right? And it does kill people, just like a lot of viruses kill people. And Mike, I'm going back to you with this point about the Constitution. And it's like, have you read it? I think it's, what is it? Liberty University will literally let you enroll in a Constitution class for free. You get 3 credits from a nice college, 100%. Liberty University, and it's a class on the Constitution, and you get to read it and have people tell you how to interpret it. And it's too bad, buddy, we couldn't have the JAG officer that the PAO didn't let him air our episode.
You know what is annoying about what you just said? That we have to have a fucking college course for somebody to read the goddamn Constitution. It's
free
written
too.
In It's written in fucking English. You can Google it, and it comes up. And you just
Lauren, they don't teach that in school anymore. There's no more civics.
Yeah.
But they teach English, though. It's reading. It's fundamental. But you just read. All you can do is
you got Lauren fired up now, buddy.
You gotta read the paper. Well, I've been fired up.
They teach CRT.
Buddy's been trying to ask a question for like the last 10 minutes. Yeah.
You know what? The whole thing that's annoying about the whole thing, the irony of the fact that the government is trying to get rid of people who speak up against doing something wrong, while at the same time having commercials about people following values, fucking blows my mind. But
so here, I want to make a statement. So you have all these, unelected bureaucrats. You also have who are, military. We have all these leaders, these 3, 4-star generals. They bought into it. They realized, oh shit, I was wrong. They're not going to go back on it. Now they own it, and now they're stuck with it. So it either they have to come out and say, screw it up. I'm gonna take it all away. Well, okay, well, Congress says that I can't kick you out. I'm going to take your travel away from you. You can't PCS. You can't get promoted, because I have an ego, and therefore I'm going to make it as hard as I can because
those are all forcing functions for you to go get it anyway. Then
right.
Yeah.
So
go see your family, get the jab.
Well, we talked about earlier, like Marcus talked about the fact that most of these are religious waivers that people are trying to go through, and the reason people are going to the religious waiver is because that was the easy button for the waiver.
It's the only option, bro.
It's the only option. The fact is, first of all, the only way you can have an emergency authorization is if there's absolutely no other treatment for whatever illness or pandemic that's going on, and there were several treatments. There were several treatments that were viable and you could have used. So the Emergency Authorization Act itself is null and void. Secondly, there was only one dose, and we talked about this before the show. There's only one dose that is authorized by the Emergency Authorization Act, and there aren't any of them. Yeah. So we're all fighting and getting waivers about something that shouldn't have been an issue anyway. But we fired. If there was a general that stood up against the White House or said,
well, he'd resign.
He wouldn't get promoted.
They either got resigned. They either got some FBI dossier on him, or they found out that instead of sleeping with Peppermint Patty, his wife, that some grumpy, disgusting human that he hasn't seen in 5 years, he's sleeping with some hot captain who was just throwing him a piece on the side, which
or reporter.
Yeah, buddy. I'm snipping that little one together, man. This is going on TikTok later, but
you know what I mean? I'm not saying you're right, but I understand if I've been in Afghanistan for 5 years straight, oh,
that's a long time.
You believe it's a long time. That's a long time to be borrowing private's hard drive so you can get done what you need to get done. You know what I mean?
Little practice self-love. Is that what you're saying?
There's only so much naughty America one human can look at. Or they gotta be yo, I gotta find something warmer than
I'm already done with her. Like that's not what this.
Yeah, and the
You've
only
already
thing I get
switched
to-
hands
the
enough.
only, the only thing I get to go, the only thing I get to go home to looks like a live action version of Peppermint Patty that's just bitching about the FRG. Like, yeah, I'm staying in Afghanistan and I'm finding this athletic
Fucking
30-year-old.
buddy, man.
That's what I'm doing. Anywho,
Wow, buddy got
You know
triggered on
what?
that
So,
one.
hey, buddy, was there a question in that, or we just want to talk about?
no, the question. I'm just
I love
saying,
Buddy's
we-
rants,
I
man.
want to touch
we
on
got
something
rid of
that
all
he
the
brought up,
generals-
though.
We got rid of all
Yeah.
the generals that had values and would stand up and say, no, we're not doing that. And the ones that were below them saw what happened, and they don't want to get in the same boat. So all we have is a bunch of yes men. It's kind of like, I talk to guys all the time that are still in the Army, and they're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm getting out. And I'm like, I understand, but the problem with you guys getting out is if all the good ones get out,
Oh
and the
yeah.
shitty ones just wait it out until there's nobody else, until they get promoted. That's how you end up with sergeant majors that are pieces of shit.
It's
That's how you
scary
end
right
up-
now, man.
You know what-
All the good ones are getting out.
Wait,
Especially
we
now
talked
that
about-
real quick, buddy,
we
especially
talked
now where
about
they
it
dropped
on
the
the last show.
policy
But
where
wait,
2 years out now you can drop your retirement.
Oh yeah.
Like all my
yeah.
buddies that are
But
sergeant
we-
majors right now,
we
drop
talked
my
about
retirement, drop my retirement. I'm like, we
talked
need people like you,
Yeah, we talked about it on the last show though.
Yep.
40%. Who was it? They said 40% of the people that were up to be battalion commanders decked the board and said, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want any
Yes.
part of it."
Yes.
Because they can get out, not have to deal with the bureaucratic bullshit, and go work for double the money,
Right. Yep.
and go home every night.
It's
You know,
way greener on the other side. Way greener. But yeah,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it
Marcus,
takes
what
away
were you
it,
saying?
it takes away from the passion
Yeah,
of
so-
like what you actually believe in, and now you're just being dictated how to think and how to
back
do your
in the
job.
it used to be.
Hey, buddy,
that-
Marcus was going to comment on your rant, because in your rant you did have some good stuff in there.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna comment
really
on
good
that.
points. And
Buddy
one
had
thing I want to
7
touch on is
shots
this
today.
is so much deeper than emergency use authorization or religious accommodation requests. Like, we should never have even been having those debates, because at the end of the day, it's a question of
It's an
bodily
experiment.
autonomy, something that up until a couple of years ago was universally recognized around the world as a basic fundamental human right, was that you had the right to decide what did or did not go into your body.
That's right.
I mean, when somebody sticks something in your body that you don't want in your body, I think there's a term for that. But yeah, and so I think it really touches on if you do not own your body and cannot control what goes into your body, then none of your other rights matter. And that's what we're fighting for. That's what I'm fighting for, is for that, some of those basic rights to be recognized.
Yeah.
I mean, the government owns us. When it comes, I mean, let's be real. Like,
No,
the
they
government-
No, they
It's
don't.
like-
No.
They do.
Yeah, that's your
absolutely
German
do not,
upbringing.
Dave.
No,
We
don't
have-
you, dude?
we have a
You should
lot
be
of
able to
people-
get Nick.
We have a
Nick,
lot of people. We have a
Nick.
lot of people who think that. That's why.
Yeah, but like
But
you
it's not
remember,
true.
like in
But it's not
in
true.
04, like we had a guy who came back with a sunburn, and he got an Article 15 for fucking destroying government property. Like this
Well,
actually happened in
Because you
2P.
couldn't do a
back in-
job or
Well,
something.
they
Well, yeah.
used to get Article
Yeah, yeah,
15s for tattoos.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, same thing with the flu shot. Like, how do you get out of the flu shot? It's mandated. Like we have
You know-
to.
you know
I'm just trying
why-
to play a
you
little
know
bit of
why-
devil
Sorry.
advocate here. Right?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
you know
saying?
why
Yeah.
people think that the people that
And a flu
like
shot
you're
is the
saying
dumbest
that the-
thing as well. Like,
you're saying that the government owns you. It's for the military. Yeah, you joined,
Yes.
you said something,
Yep.
and yeah,
Yep.
as a whole.
If that's what you meant,
like,
Dave, then yes.
First of all,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm just talking military.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Don't get the uniform that guy's wearing mixed up with the fact that inside that uniform is a human.
Fucking
Yeah,
nerd.
We
absolutely.
have basic human rights, even in the military. That being said, that's the reason why people are in jail, because they haven't figured out that there's more of them than there are the guards.
100%. 100%.
There are more of us than there are people in Washington.
Yeah. And let me again, this
So-
was specifically military, like, obviously.
I think it was like episode 12. I talked about the greatest analogy ever is the movie Ants. If you just watch the movie Ants,
Yes.
like so, I
Dude.
gotta watch. All right, and
There's
it's
more
real
of them than
simple,
us.
It's a Disney movie. It's a cartoon, but
Oh,
it
yeah,
makes
there's
a lot
messages
of,
in there, man.
It makes a lot of sense. All right, yeah. Hey, Mike, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I do. So I want to touch on Buddy's rant here because he was getting me fired up, and I was like, oh,
Nice.
mention. So anyway, again, there's a saying out there for those that are listening is that bad things happen when good men do nothing, right? So there is a lot of good, Army folks out there. With my job, I work with a lot of good customer facing, project manager with a lot of good military that I work with. Awesome folks. We need today's what we need them to stay in, and if it's a hard fight, get in the fight, fix it. This is your opportunity to fix what's going on, which is bad. So again, bad things happen when good men that are still in it, and there's a lot of them do nothing. What the hell was I going to friggin' say?
Bourbon.
I was getting all fired up, and then I had a couple bourbons, and then
That was good though. You got your point across.
No, and then again, like we always say that, Buddy, Buddy hits it up all the time, and we've hit it up all the time. Is put your skin in the game. Everybody talks about the 22 a day, and then on the chat they talk about 44 a day when they do the new study, because 44 a day doesn't mean 44 people are killing themselves, but 44 a day veterans dying from things that are happening because of the treatment that they're getting, right? And it's not necessarily killing themselves, but other aspects and other ways to die because of those treatments. Same. And so what are you doing about it with suicide intervention and prevention? What are you doing about it? All right. Everybody that is a moderator on Veteran Trash Talk, VTT official, all right, all of them, all right, are doing something about it. All right. And
shout out to all of them, man.
Yeah, shout out to all of them.
Sure.
They're on that page every freaking day, and we don't pay them. Because we don't make any money. Right? Now, if you guys all go buy shirts, then we'll pay the moderators. So everybody go buy shirts. Just a tip's a good one. Right. But this is what I'm gonna get at here. This is the segue into that is, how do people donate to you, and where do they go for it? Is there, let's say I give you $10,000, what does it go to? What does it do?
Well, for our organization, it goes, it goes to cover some of these legal fights that we're launching. I think probably 95% of our budget goes straight to lawsuits, to filing lawsuits against the federal government, against the agencies, against the unions. And we have very little overhead. None of our organization is paid staff. We don't have employees. It's completely volunteer run. And we have all the typical overhead expenses of having to pay for our Zoom account and paying for the financial audits and just the basic things to keep the lights on. But beyond that, none of our staff are getting paid. Everything goes straight to legal action and advocacy.
Okay, because we do have this argument all the time. I'll let Buddy, 1 second, Buddy. Because we've talked about it before, but those are watching for the first time, because our page keeps growing, is it's okay for nonprofits to make money. All right. Nick. Like you guys are fucking idiots if you don't think, I'm sorry if you're one of these people, but you're an idiot. But you need entrepreneurial mindsets in nonprofits.
Yes,
you
sir.
You need the best workers to come work for you. That's what those people got to feed themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And those people gotta, they got to feed their kids. It'd be so great if we lived in this freaking Immanuel Kant freaking society where everybody just gave everybody everything they wanted. Well, that shit doesn't happen. All right. So yeah, Buddy, what do you got?
Two things. First of all, up here, the nonprofits have to get paid. I got a buddy that just got a job starting the Honor Foundation stuff in Washington State. Well, up there by JBLM or whatever. And the guy just got a ZBA. Guy got a ZBA a couple years ago, and could be making $200,000-$300,000 a year easy. He's getting paid less than $100,000 a year to start the whole thing. So those guys that are working are the best and the brightest, and their donation is that they're getting paid half of what they could get paid somewhere else, but they care about the project.
Passion, bro.
So
that's passion right there.
They get paid in passion. So it's a little passion token.
Yeah.
Second thing I got, Marcus. So question for either one of you is, people can pay people. Well, yeah, but I said Marcus or Mike. Eminem.
Eminem. Yeah, that's in the script. Eminem was in the script.
Trademark.
Mike gets to take this one, man.
Rapper and the hard candy. I'm sorry. Anyway, if say that they're, what we also have in the veteran community is a lot of people that get out, go to college, and become lawyers. So if there are lawyers or people that can volunteer time and effort and energy to helping out the cause, like how do those people get in touch with you to, like, say, volunteer for an internship to file paperwork and do things and use their because the
skill set.
The greatest irony would be is if you had some guy that uses GI Bill to get his law degree, filing paperwork to fuck the government out of their stupid ass decision after they paid for it. That would be
well, we pay for that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well. Anyway,
taxpayers.
So how do those? Do you take volunteers?
No. We pay into the GI Bill, and not a lot of people use it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm using the fuck out of it.
Oh, I use the shit.
Well, Buddy just tried to ask the question if you guys have a website that people can look up. It took him 10 minutes to ask. It's just like, do you have a website?
Sometimes,
I'll take this one, please. Marcus, come over the top. So our website is feds for the number 4 med med freedom.org. I'll say it again. It's feds FEDS the number 4 med med freedom.org, and then contact us. We can use all the help we can get. We have a diverse member group, so we're not just, obviously we're all former DOD. I think, Marcus, were you ever Air Force at all?
No.
We'll put, anyway, so other than Department of State.
Boy Scouts? I mean, Air Force Boy
Scouts. It was Border Patrol.
Could be.
Border Patrol.
But,
mean green.
Okay.
Yeah. So we represent.
Better than the Air Force.
Hey, Marcus, we gotta bring you back on, because I get mad at the people who give like Border Patrol agents shit. And I was like, you know how fucking much they do for immigrants? You know how much help they give those kids coming over? Like what they do, how they like actually try to save lives. Like, yes, all you assholes out there at the Border Patrol, I don't like it.
But a majority of Department of Defense folks, our military folks, when they get out, we gravitate towards organizations that we're familiar with. So majority of the federal employees have prior military service. So if this is something that hey, when I retire, you want to take your skill set that you've taken out of the years in military and apply them in a federal employee fashion. It's a great start. So if you fully believe in the Constitution and you want to fight for your individual and your country's freedoms, please, we will take all the support we can get. Again, feds, the number 4 med freedom.org is how you can help. There's plenty of board members. I'm actually the Department of Defense class agent for the EEO. But we have class agents for pretty much every major agency that we're representing within Feds for Med Freedom. I'll pause there, Marcus.
And for people that want to volunteer, just go to our website. There's no specific place to say volunteer, but you go to contact us, and there's a section there to join us or become a member. Fill out that form, and the auto reply that you'll get from us tells you how to get plugged in and get more involved in the organization. And we'll definitely plug in anybody that wants to donate their time and efforts. As far as the first question about donations, same thing. Go to our website, and there's a link on there in the top right corner to donate. And
Marcus, one more follow-up question. What do you need? So I know lawyers, but do you need what do you need for people to volunteer to do? Like, what jobs are you looking for people to help with?
We need, at the most fundamental level, we need people that'll help spread the word about our organization, because we have been censored, deplatformed, shadow banned since day one. We're almost 10,000 members strong, but that 10,000 represents over 400,000 federal employees, not to even mention the contractors that are in the exact same position as us. And the reason that it's only 10,000 and not a larger number is because of that censorship and that shadow banning. Which through the Twitter files we find out is done by our own government, but that's a story for another day.
Tinfoil hat.
Well, that's why it was a joke when they brought Zuckerberg in front of Congress. Zuckerberg was just kind of laughing like, "Motherfuckers, I do what you tell me to do."
I mean, look up BlackRock, and I don't want to get too much off topic, but look up BlackRock. They own all the social media, to include Pfizer, Moderna, like it's all tied in. BlackRock is like, I think
Hey,
it's
do that one next time.
$16 trillion
Do that one
right
next
now.
time.
We'll do that next time, but
So
you can Google that. That's
we've
like
got teams
open,
that
and they
we've got
own it
teams
all.
that do that kind of outreach.
Yeah.
They do focused on social media stuff, focused on outreach within the agencies, to peers, focused on organizing sort of community events and representing organizations. So you don't even have to have any sort of special skill set. We need all the help we can get
So if you don't have money,
at every
you can
level.
volunteer.
So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And some of our best volunteers are people who are like, you know what, I can't pour a lot of money into this, but damn it, I'll spend 4 or 5 hours a day plugging away at whatever you need me to do.
Where do you think our
that's what
moderators
makes things
come from?
happen.
But attorneys
Yeah.
are not cheap, by the way.
Yeah.
No, like I said, we got that. And here's what I'm going to say to the VTT community, and this is who we're trying to reach for you guys. We have a tremendous community. We're so diverse, and it's been like a pleasure for all of us to be a part of this community. A lot of people watch this after the fact, and a lot of people download it and listen to it later. So if you're watching after the fact, or you're listening on podcast platforms, go to the website, right? And I know there's a lot of you in our community that are against the COVID vaccine, period, right? Which is your decision. That's freedom, right? There's a lot of you that are against the mandate. I know you're there because I decline your posts all the time. All right. Like, because we don't allow the political posts on the page, but you're there. Okay. So here's your chance. All right. I've just met Marcus today via Zoom. I've known Mike for years. Mike is 100% vouchable. Okay. 100%. All right. Minus the short person, but like, other than being short, he's literally like, he will, if he's in the organization, it's real. Okay. So go freaking donate to them. All right. Donate to them. All right. And then if you don't have money, volunteer. All right. Volunteer is like the way that our volunteers, like Buddy said, the way that our moderators volunteer to help get our message out. Okay. Do it. All right. Put your skin in the game. If you've been bitching about COVID shots for years, what have you done about it?
Here's your chance to fight.
What have you done about it?
Yeah.
All right. So
Follow or get out of the way.
Yeah. Go do something.
Damn right. Damn right.
All right. So I think that should cover it for today with Buddy's recap and then Dave's closeout. And then we'll actually, before we give it to Buddy to close out, Cliff, one more shout out to your boy again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, January is kind of a down month for a lot of people, right? We come through November, you got, Thanksgiving, families get together, December, Christmas, and all that. And January is kind of a lull month before spring comes. So, hey, just a quick reminder that if you're having issues or problems, please reach out. Veterans Trash Talk community, we're all here for you. We want you to be here. You do have family members and friends that love you and they want you here tomorrow. So, please, I talk about this all the time, being a suicide survivor. I didn't have the courage to pick up the phone when I was having problems and ask for help. Please don't be like me and pick up that phone and ask for help, because you are important and we want you here tomorrow. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
And before we turn over the Buddy, Cliff's the guy that, if you watch the 9/11 special, was crawling through the Pentagon trying to find people when it got hit on 9/11. So
for multiple hours,
dealing with some shit, right? And then he saved some people in the Hudson. We talked about that pre-show. But all right, Buddy.
What's up, man?
You're supposed to close this. You're supposed to
guys,
recap.
how's it going? All right,
AAR.
recap. I got it. So the first thing, the VA got a lot of people. Conspiracy. They're trying to kill us, and I don't think they're trying to kill us. We don't think they're trying to kill us, but as a side effect, they're not real fucking motivated to not let you be a dead or a zombie. Take care of yourself. Don't take all the bullshit that they're trying to give you. Take some organic stuff. Go work out and take a walk and put good shit in you. Good shit will come out of you. Let's see.
I like that.
Get with. Get with. That's what I was gonna. Nah. Anyway, it was a.
That's important.
You're not gonna talk about the left and right hand anymore.
Anyway, so check out www.feds, FEDS, for the number freedom or medicalfreedom.org. Marcus and Mike would love some money and or some volunteers to help with fighting the COVID mandate for for them. And people that are in the active service, what they're doing also trickles over to you. So
That's
just because you can't join an organization doesn't mean that you can't give some money or you can't volunteer your time. You can do whatever you want when you're not at work. So check these guys out, look at their website, and get in the fight for yourself. Get in your fight for if we all stand together. There's not a whole lot that Washington D.C. that's a really tiny place. And all it takes is for Mike said earlier, for good men to stand by and do nothing is how and there was another buddy of mine who's actually in the Army and been fighting the COVID mandate for pretty much the entire time. He said, to fight tyranny, it only takes one man to stand up and say, nah, we're not going to do this. That's not exactly the quote, but you know what I mean. Anyway, close enough.
It's close enough.
So, hey, Mike, Marcus, it's great to have you on the show, and
Thanks for having
It's
us.
an honor to be here.
You guys are doing really great work for a lot of people that deserve for you guys to do great work and need to support you. So, hands off to you guys. And Dave, it's on to you, Dave.
Yeah, Mike, Marcus, thanks for coming on. You guys are in the fight. I love what you guys are doing for everybody. For anybody that missed the episode or just tuned in late, go to veterantrashtalk.com. It has links to everything. You can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, a bunch of other apps too, Apple Music, whatever.